Hello, hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we will discuss about the OBC subject, that is menstrual cycle, physiology of the menstruation. Menstruation means shedding of the sloughed endometrium with mucus and blood through the vagina externally following failure of fertilization or implantation is called as menstruation. When the endometrial layer, that means the inner layer of the uterus, is prepared for the fertilized egg to get implanted, if it is failed, then this prepared endometrial layer gets shredded off or peeled off from the endometrium and causes vaginal bleeding. That is called as menstruation in simple language. Normally, menstrual cycle takes place 28 to 35 days or 21 to 35 days. It differs from person to person depending upon the strength of the person and the hormonal capacity of the person. So, the average range is 21 to 35 days. What is the average duration of menses? The bleeding time is 2 to 7 days. And egg releasing date is on 14th day. On 14th day egg releases. So now let us learn about the hormonal control over the menstruation. Hypothalamus is the one which controls the menstrual cycle and also pregnancy and fertility. Hypothalamus releases gonadotropin hormone, as you see in this picture, in this diagram. As you see in this, hypothalamus releasing gonadotropin releasing hormone to the anterior pituitary gland. Because of that influence, anterior pituitary gland releases the first cycle luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone. Luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone, which influences ovary. Ovary means the eggs pouch, which can also called as eggs pouch of eggs. In ovary contains number of eggs to release through the lifespan of 45 years or 55 years of a female. So when it releases follicular stimulating hormone, the ovary, whatever the eggs are having in the ovary, they get matured. So I will explain you this later. It also comes in the later also. During menstrual cycle, two changes occurs in the endometrium and ovaries. So ovaries goes through the three phases. The first one is follicular phase, second ovulation, third one is luteal phase. I will explain you in detail in coming slides. And endometrium also goes through the three phases. First one, proliferative phase, second, secretory, third, menstruation phase. So during the course of a normal menstrual cycle, ovaries as well as endometrium goes three phases. The ovaries phases are follicular phase, ovulation phase and luteal phase, whereas endometrial goes three phases: proliferative, secretory and menstrual phase. Let us see what do you mean by proliferative phase. As I already told you, follicular stimulating hormone is released from the anterior pituitary gland, which helps in the egg maturation. If you observe this diagram, see here the first egg is the primary follicle. Those three follicles are called as primary follicles, and the down one is growing follicle, and the fourth one or fifth one is called as matured follicle. Sixth one, which is releasing from the cell wall, is called as egg. The egg releases when it is matured, otherwise it is immature. It is just like a dot. When it gets matured, then only it gets released. That is called as ovulation. The dominant follicle is around 20 mm in diameter. When the ovum is matured, the matured ovum size is 20 mm. Matured ovum size is 20 mm. When it is reaching 20 mm, then only it is ready to meet with the sperm. If in case it is not 20 mm, it is not ready to meet with the sperm and to conceive. Luteinizing hormone also releasing from the anterior pituitary gland, which helps in the ovulation, which stimulates the ovary to release the matured ovum. Next phase is the luteal phase. The remaining granulosa and the theca cells will form the corpus luteum. The cell have vasculated yellow appearance. So once the matured egg is released, whatever the remaining granulosa and thecal cells becomes the corpus luteum. See, after ovulation, the flower-like shape. After ovulation, the flower-like shape is called as corpus luteum. Corpus luteum. This is the one which secretes the progesterone, which helps to sustain the pregnancy and also helps in the proliferation of endometrium. Here the matured egg is releasing another fluid also, that is estrogen. Along with the egg, estrogen also releases. Here comes proliferative phase in the endometrium. Proliferative phase in the endometrium. Proliferative, in the name itself, it is explaining a lot of meaning. Proliferation is nothing but increased number of cells by taking the mitotic division. You all know that mitotic division is nothing but one cell divided into two cells and two cells divided into four and four divided into 8. This division is called as mitotic division. This phase is also called as estrogenic phase because the egg is released from the follicle. So along with that egg, estrogen also gets released from the follicle. This is the estrogen which helps the endometrial layer to get proliferate. So that is the reason this proliferative phase, the thickened endometrial layer, is also known as a estrogenic phase. So in this, what happens, mitotic division takes place and the thickness of the endometrium gets from 0.5 mm to 3.5 mm. This much length gets increased. See, if you see from this diagram, on 5th to 13 days, the endometrial thickness is increasing gradually. The endometrial thickness is increasing gradually because of the help of the estrogen. And the second phase is secretory phase. This is also called as progesteronal phase. Phase. Why it is called as progesteronal phase means, I already told you, once the ovulation taken place, the remaining granule becomes corpus luteum. The corpus luteum secretes progesterone. This progesterone also helps in the furthermore increase of endometrial thickness. If you see from this diagram, you can see after ovulation, on 14th ovulation takes place, as I already told you, and in the secretory phase, the thickness of the endometrial layer is increasing furthermore from 15th to 15th to 25. That means nearly 11 or 13 days the further gets size increased. The thickness of the endometrium got increased. So once the thickness of the endometrium got increased, in case it is not get conceived, the egg is not get conceived or egg is not met with the sperm, what is the next process? This endometrium actually prepared to give a bed to the fertilized egg. Once the sperm and ovum is met, this fertilized egg will come and lay on this endometrial layer. See, here you can see the bed of the endometrial layer from 15th to 25 days. So on that matured egg goes and lies. In case it gets failure, what happens? Whatever the prepared endometrium gets shredded off. It pulled off from the endometrial layer and shredded along with the menstrual cycle. That is called as menstrual cycle. So menstrual cycle is also called as luteolysis. Lysis means breakdown. Decreased estrogen and progesterone, vasoconstriction of the spiral arteries and distal ischemia, tissue breakdown and loss of the upper layer along with the bleeding from fragments of the remaining arterioles. Whatever the prepared endometrium is there for the egg implantation, see, if you come back to the starting point on the 25th, the red color marking you can see on the first, second and third to 4 days, and even 28th also. So as we said, the menstrual period is 3 to 7 days depending upon the person to person, it varies. So here menstrual phase, finally prepared bed gets shredded off. Prepared bed, you also called as decidua or endometrial layer. Prepared endometrial layer gets shredded off by the end of the 28 days of cycle.